Hey folks, today I'm going to do a video that I've been wanting to do for a while. I've been putting it off because it entails me taking several guns to the range. It entails me setting up my chronograph and doing some different things like that. So I've been putting it off, but I finally broke down and I did it today. And like I said, I've been wanting to do this video for probably 6 or 8 months, just out of curiosity. Before I get into that, let me explain a little backstory as to why I wanted to do the video. As y'all know, in America, there has been a gun buying frenzy. People have been buying up guns left and right. You can hardly find anything. If you do find something, they're usually trying to gouge you on the price. But a lot of the guns that have been bought up are ARs. And that tickles me to death because a lot of these liberal politicians see that the AR is such a popular seller and it just drives them crazy, and I love it. The AR is America's rifle. Now, a lot of the ARs that are being bought as pistols. Like it or not, they're classified as a dadgum pistol, and right now that's what we have to live with, but at least we can still get them as pistols. So I wanted to know what the velocity difference between a 16, a 14 and a half, an 11 and a half, and a 10 and a half inch barrel would be with a 55 grain 223 or 5.56 round. As y'all know, the most common grain bullet for the 223 or 5.56 is 55 grains. Yes, there are lighter bullets and there are much heavier bullets, but overall, the vast majority of ammunition sold is 55 grain ammo. Also, with a 223 or 5.56, it is very dependent, that round is very dependent on velocity. Without the necessary velocities, you've basically got a 22 long rifle. So when you take that 55 grain bullet or 77 grain bullet, 69, 62, whatever you want to take, and put that into a shorter barreled platform, will it still have enough velocity to be effective? So that's my basis for doing this video. I wanted to see what the actual velocities are out of what is the most common barrel length, 16 inch, and what is the most common shorter barreled or pistol barreled variant, which is the 10 and a half inch. So sit back, enjoy, watch the chrono results. I'm going to break the results down at the end and kind of give you an average of each barrel length, and then I'll give you my final thoughts on whether I think the short barrels are still effective or if I would avoid the short barrels. Hey folks, I'm going to go through what I'm going to be shooting today and just let you know. This is my Colt 6920. It is a 16-inch barrel. This will be the longest barrel that I fire today, and it is a carbine length gas system. Maybe that'll have something to do with the results. I don't know. Kind of doubt it, but it could. So I'll be shooting my Colt 6920. Then I'm going to go to my geisselesuperduty. It's a 14 and a half inch barrel, pinned and welded. So I'll be shooting that next. Then I'm going to go to my Colt 6943. It's an 11 and a half inch barrel. And then I'm going to go to my PSA 10 and a half inch pistol. This one is not their Freedom series or whatever you call it. It's actually a pretty good one. It's got the melanite barrel and melanite bolt. So those are the 4 guns that I'm going to be shooting today. A 16-inch Colt, a 14 and a half inch geissele, an 11 and a half inch Colt, and a 10 and a half inch PSA. So it'll be interesting to see what the results are, and then we'll talk about the results after we shoot over the chrono. Colt, 6920, 16-inch barrel. $30.56. $30.76. $29.99. $30.10. $30.27. $28.99. $29.19. $29.32. $29.61. $30.12. Geissele Super Duty, 14.5-inch barrel. 2. Colt, 6943, 11.5-inch barrel. $28.70. $28.05. $27.20. $27.56. $28.30. PSA, 10.5-inch barrel. $25.54. $26.55. $26.28. $26.08. $26.04. All right, I've crunched the numbers on the velocities. On the Colt 16-inch barrel, the average velocity was 3,034 feet per second. Moving on pretty good out of a 16-inch barrel. Out of a 14.5-inch barrel, that 55-grain bullet is going 2,942 feet per second. You've got a little bit of a velocity difference there, but that's not terrible. Actually, from the spread or the consistency of the rounds, that's almost enough that could be considered in a variation from one round to the next. On the 11.5-inch barrel, you've got 2,796 feet per second. So basically 2,800 feet per second. You're a little over 100 feet per second. Well, you're 148 feet per second slower than the 14.5-inch barrel. And out of the 10.5-inch barrel, the average is 2,609 feet per second. From the 11 and this is what shocked me. From the 11.5 to the 10.5-inch barrel, you've got roughly 180 feet per second difference from 11.5 to 10.5. So what does that tell us? Does that tell us, or does it tell me, that the 10.5-inch barrel is too short to be effective with a 5.56 or a 2.23? Nope, sure doesn't. 2,600 feet per second is still plenty of velocity at reasonable distances. You've got to remember, when you've got a round that's heavily dependent on velocities, and you have dropped that velocity from, with the 16-inch barrel, from 3,000 feet per second down to 2,600 feet per second, roughly 400 feet per second. You've got to be realistic with your distances, all right? I would say, in my opinion, a 10.5-inch barrel, I would feel comfortable going out to a couple of 100 yards with it, tops, because in my opinion, and it's just my opinion, I think after 200 yards, you're probably going to lose too much velocity for it to still be extremely effective. Now, at 3,000 feet per second, I think you can take it on out to 500 or 600 yards and still have its effectiveness. You've got to be, so let me kind of put this into terms if I can explain it. I do not think the shorter barreled rifles are a hindrance in realistic distances. So from 0 to 150, 200 yards tops, I have no problem with a shorter barreled AR platform, 10.5 or 11.5. If I want to go farther out than 200 yards tops on those shorter barrels, I'm going to go for a longer barrel, all right? That's just the way it is. Now, the shorter barrels are for close-up work. That's what they were invented for. That's why we have them. That's why a lot of your SWAT teams use shorter barreled rifles, because they're easier to maneuver indoors. And a lot of your special forces units will use shorter barreled rifles depending on what their mission set is, because it's easier for them to move indoors and around barriers with shorter barreled rifles. They're also lighter, so they're not as heavy to tote around. The longer barreled rifles are more for your longer ranges, like your infantry would use, or your street cop that is going to have to engage someone in a Walmart parking lot that might be 75 to 100 yards away. So each one of those rifles have their place. And I do not think that the shorter barreled rifles are a hindrance as long as you know their limitations. I'll tell you something that kind of shocked me. What shocked me was the difference between the 11.5 and the 10.5. The 11.5 was cooking out at almost 2,800 feet per second. 2,800 feet per second. With the loss of that 1 inch of barrel length from the 11.5 to 10.5, it dropped all the way down to almost 2,600 feet per second. So 200 feet per second with 1 inch barrel difference. Now you see why the military doesn't want to go under a 10.3 inch barrel. Anything under a 10.3 inch barrel, one, the gas system's not reliable enough to make it operate. Two, you're really cutting that ragged edge of effectiveness of that round. You don't want to drop down much under 2,600 feet per second, because if you do, you're really losing what makes the 5.56 or 2.23 what makes it really shine. So, my opinion again, as long as you are using it within its limitations, I think that the 10.5 and the 11.5 inch barrel are totally fine. Home defense, totally fine. Truck gun, totally fine. If you're going to use it for hunting or longer range shooting, you need to go with the longer barrel, because it's going to give you more effectiveness out at longer distances. So I hope you learned something with the video. I know I did. I've watched these types of videos in the past, and I wanted to get out and experience it for myself. The biggest shocker for me, again, was the 11.5 versus the 10.5. That really shocked me to see almost 200 feet per second loss in that 1 inch. So anyway, if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up, share it around. If you didn't like the video, give it a thumbs down. It's not going to hurt my feelings. I know everybody doesn't like my videos, and that's fine. That's fine. But I'm just trying to make these videos to try to give a little bit of perspective to certain things that people might not have seen before, and I enjoy doing them. So until next time, y'all have a good one.